our progress report says we are at stage 6, paragraph page 425. Okay, and our last head word was emphatic do, newer type of lesson.
Mhm.
Okay, so let's start with revision. Ready?
Okay.
Here we go. First question. Do you always choose your clothes yourself, or does someone else ever help you to choose them? Do you always choose your clothes yourself, or does someone else ever help you to choose them? Yes or no?
Yes,
I always
I
choose
always
my
choose
clothes
my
myself.
clothes myself.
Whereas if you had to choose between having 10,000 pounds now or 40,000 pounds in 10 years' time, which did you choose? If you had to choose between having 10,000 pounds now and 40,000 pounds in 10 years' time, which did you choose? If I had to
If I
choose
had to,
between
I had
having
choose between having
10,000 pounds now
10,000 pounds
or
now or
40,000
40
pounds
pounds,
in,
thousand pounds
in 10
in
years' time,
10 years' time,
I choose to have
I choose to have 40,000 pounds
in 10 years'
in 10
time.
years' time
Why? Why? Because
because so if I get many pounds now, so I use all. I use
very
all
good.
now.
If you get it now, you will all use it. Very good.
Mm.
Next, do you think you'd be able to recognize me if we met each other again in 30 years' time? Do you think you'd be able to recognize me if we met each other again in 30 years' time? Yes or no?
Yes,
I think I'd
I
be
think
able
I'd
to
be able
recognize
to
you
recognize
if we
you
met each
if
other
we met
again
each other
in
again
30 years' time.
in 30 years' time.
Regid, would you say you were good at recognizing people after not having seen them for several years? Would you say you were good at recognizing people after not having seen them for several years? Yes or no?
Yes, I,
I'd say I
I'd
was good
say
at
I was good at
recognizing people
recognizing people
after not having seen
after
them
not having seen them
for several years.
for several years.
So very good. Would you say you spoke English rather well now? Would you say you spoke English rather well now? Yes, I'd say
Yes,
I
I'd
spoke
say I
English
spoke
rather
English
well now.
rather well now.
Regard, what can we say instead of I would prefer to drink tea? What can we say instead of I would prefer to drink tea? We can say
We can
I
say
would rather
I would rather
drink tea
drink tea
instead of I
instead
would
of I
prefer
would
to drink
prefer
tea.
to drink tea.
Regard, would you rather have a cold drink than a hot drink at the moment? Would you rather have a cold drink than a hot drink at the moment? Yes or no?
No, I
I wouldn't rather
I
have
wouldn't rather
a
have
cold drink
a cold
than a
drink
hot drink
than a hot
at the
drink
moment.
at the moment.
Regard, which would you rather do this evening? Read a book, watch television, or go to the cinema? Which would you rather do this evening? Read a book, watch television, or go to the cinema? I'd rather
I'd rather I'd rather read a book
than watch
than
television
watch the television
or go to the
or
cinema
go to the
this
cinema
evening.
this evening.
Regard, would you rather go on a long flight or a long train journey? Would you rather go on a long flight or a long train journey? I'd rather go
I'd rather
on
go
a
on a long train journey
than a
than
long
a
flight.
long flight.
Very good. Do you have very much faith in your government? Do you have very much faith in your government? Yes or no?
No,
I don't have
I
very
don't
much
have
faith
very much
in
faith.
my government.
I got my government
In my government.
in my government.
Very good. About how old is the Christian faith? About how old is the Christian faith? The Christian faith
The Christian
is
faith
about
is about
2,000 years old.
2000 years old.
Very good. Okay, tell me one common use of the future simple. Tell me one common use of the future simple, please. One common use
One
of
common
the future
use,
simple.
the present
One more.
simple.
One common use
One common use
of the
of
future
the
simple
future simple
is to communicate
is to
that
communicate
we have
that
just
we
this
have
moment
just this moment
decided to do something.
decided to do something.
Give me an example. Give me an example, please. Sorry, I forgot
Sorry,
to
I
bring
forgot to
the
bring
money for you.
the money for
I'll
you.
bring it tomorrow. I
I'll bring it
promise.
tomorrow. I promise.
Tell me another common use of the future simple. Tell me another common use of the future simple, please. Another common
Another
use
common
of the
use
future
of
simple
the future
is to
simple
make a prediction.
is to make a prediction.
Give me an example. Give me an example, please. I can't remember
I can't
what she
remember
looks like,
what she looks like,
but I'm sure
but I'm sure
I'll recognize
I'll,
her
I'll recognize
when I
her
see her.
when I see her.
Very good. Tell me one common use of to be going to. Tell me one common use of to be going to, please. One common use
One common
of to be
use
going
of
to
to be going
is
to
to make a
is to
prediction
make a prediction
using information
using
we
information
already have.
we already have.
Give me an example. Give me an example, please. Be careful.
Be
That
careful,
wine glass
that wine
is
glass
going to
is
fall
going to
off
fall
the table.
over the table.
Tell me another common use of to be going to. Tell me another common use of to be going to, please. Another common use
Another
of
common
to be
use
going
of
to be going
to be going to
is to communicate
is to
a future
communicate our
intention,
future intention,
something that we have
something that we
already
have already
decided to do.
decided to do.
Give me an example. Give me an example, please. I'm going to go
I'm
to
going
the
to
cinema
go to
next
the cinema
Saturday.
next Saturday.
Very good. Tell me what you have decided to do this evening. Tell me what you have decided to do this evening. This evening,
This evening,
I'm going to.
I'm going to go to restaurant.
Very good. In a house, are the bedrooms usually downstairs? In a house, are the bedrooms usually downstairs? No. In a
No,
house,
in the
the
house,
bedroom
the
aren't
bedroom
usually
aren't
downstairs.
usually
They're
downstairs.
usually
They are
upstairs.
usually upstairs.
And is the living room usually upstairs? And is the living room usually upstairs? No. The living
No,
room
the living
isn't
room
usually
isn't
upstairs.
usually
It's
upstairs.
usually
It's
downstairs.
usually downstairs.
Where if you had to get to a room that was on the 10th floor of a building, would you take the stairs or the lift? If you had to get to a room that was on the 10th floor of a building, would you take the stairs or the lift? If I had to get
If I
to
had
a
to
room
get
that
to a
was
room
on the
that
10th
was
floor
on the
of a
10th floor
building,
of a
I'd
building,
take the lift.
I'd take the lift.
Wait, is this my top lip? Is this my top lip? No, it
No,
isn't your
it
top
isn't
lip.
your top lip.
It's your bottom
It's
lip.
your bottom lip.
Do you think women look better with or without lipstick? Do you think women look better with or without lipstick? I think women
I think
look
women
better
looks better
lipstick.
with lipstick.
Very good. What system of government do you have in your country? What system of government do you have in your country? We have a
We have
democratic
a
system
democratic
of
system
government in my
of
country.
government in my country.
Very good. Is sailing a popular sport in your country? Is sailing a popular sport in your country? Yes or no?
No,
Sailing isn't a
sailing
popular
isn't a
sport
popular
in my
sport in my
country.
country.
Would you like to be a sailor? Would you like to be a sailor? Yes or no?
No,
I
I
wouldn't like
wouldn't
to be a
like
sailor.
to be a sailor.
Very good. Okay. When do we use the auxiliary verb do in a possessive sentence, in a positive sentence with the present simple tense? When do we use the auxiliary verb do in a positive sentence with the present simple tense? We use
We
the
use
auxiliary
the
verb do
auxiliary verb to
in a
do
positive
in a
sentence
positive
with the
sentence
present
with
simple
a
tense
present simple
when
tense
we want to be
when we
emphatic.
want to be emphatic.
Very good. When do we usually use the emphatic do? When do we usually use the emphatic do? We usually
We
use
usually
the
use
emphatic do
the emphatic do
when we want to
when
deny
we want to
something
deny
that
something
someone has
that
said
someone has said
because we know
because we
it is
know
not
it
true.
is not true.
Give me an example. Give me an example, please. For example,
For
if
example,
somebody
if
says
somebody
you don't
says
eat
you
enough
don't eat
vegetables,
enough
I
vegetable,
can reply,
I can reply,
yes, I do
yes,
eat
I do
enough
eat
vegetables.
enough vegetables.
Very good. Okay, reply to this sentence using the emphatic form, please. You don't know what I've got in my pocket. Reply to this sentence using the emphatic form, please. You don't know what I've got in my pocket. Yes. I do
Yes,
know
I do
what
know
you've got
what you
in
got
your pocket.
in your pocket.
Very good. Tell me another use of the emphatic do. Tell me another use of the emphatic do, please. Another use
Another
of
use
the
of
emphatic
the
do
emphatic do
is in an
is in an
exclamation.
exclamation.
Very good. Give me an example. Give me an example, please. I do hate
I do hate
noisy children.
noisy children.
She does write
She does write
beautifully.
beautifully.
Very good. Okay, and that's the end of our revision.
Okay.
Let's have new work. Okay, so let's continue your new work. Okay, here we go. Listen, we can use the emphatic do with the past simple too. For example, I did study hard last year. I did like that book you gave me. Okay, let's practice. Reply to this sentence using the emphatic form in the past, please. He didn't cycle home yesterday. Reply to this sentence using the emphatic form in the past, please. He didn't cycle home yesterday. Yes, he did
Yes,
cycle
he did
home
cycle home
yesterday.
yesterday.
Very good. Okay, next. Remember that we only use the emphatic do with the present and past simple. With other tenses, we just stress the first auxiliary verb of the negative word in the verb. For example, yes, I can speak English well. And no, I won't make a mistake. Okay, let's practice. Reply to this sentence using the emphatic form, okay? Number one, you can't read quickly. You can't read quickly. Yes, I can
Yes,
read
I
quickly.
can read quickly.
The weather's been good. The weather's been good. No, the
No,
weather has
the
not
weather
been
has
good.
not been good.
She doesn't love her
She
family.
doesn't,
She doesn't love her family. He does love
he does love
her family.
her family.
He came to school early. He came to school early. No, he didn't
No,
come
he
to
didn't
school
come
early.
to school early.
We should tell him the news. We should tell him the news. Yes, we should
Yes,
tell
we
him the
should
news.
tell him the news.
Very good. Okay, next. Repeat hit,
Hit,
arrest.
arrest.
Very good. Okay, listen. Hit is a verb. To hit means to touch someone or something quickly and hard with your hand, like us or a stick, etc. For example, I sometimes hit my head getting into a car. Arrest is a verb. It means to take and keep someone, such as a criminal, and put him to prison. For example, if I hit a policeman, he'd arrest me. Let's practice. What am I doing? What am I doing? You're hitting
You are hitting,
your
you are,
I'm
what?
sorry. You're hitting the table
You are hitting the
with
table
your hand.
with your hand.
Very good. Have you ever hit your head getting into a car? Have you ever hit your head getting into a car? Yes or no?
Yes,
I've hit my head
I've hit my head
getting into a
into that
car.
getting into a car.
Well, what did happen if you hit a policeman? What did happen if you hit a policeman? If I hit
If
a
I hit
policeman,
a
he'd
policeman,
arrest me.
he'd arrest me.
Have you ever seen anyone arrested? Have you ever seen anyone arrested? Yes or no?
Uh, no,
I've never seen
I've never seen
anyone arrested.
anyone arrested.
Very good. Next, repeat fair,
Fair,
fairly,
fairy,
just,
just,
moderate,
moderate,
unfair.
unfair.
Very good. Okay, listen. The word fair has five different meanings, which are as follows: fair here, industrial and agricultural fairs, just, moderate, and fun fair. Okay, number one, fair hair is a noun. Fair hair means light colored hair or blonde hair. For example, people in Northern Europe have fair hair. I don't have fair hair, I have black hair. Number two, industrial fair and agricultural fair are both nouns. In an industrial fair, you can buy cheaper industrial products such as machines, batteries, etc. In an agricultural fair, you can buy agricultural products such as plants, seeds for planting, vegetables, etc. For example, I've been to an industrial and agricultural fair. Number three, just is an adjective. Just means equal. Okay. Unfair is an adjective. Unfair is the opposite of fair. For example, if I ask everyone in this room 20 questions but only ask you two, it wouldn't be fair. It'd be unfair. Number four, moderate is an adjective. Moderate means neither very good nor very bad. For example, I speak English fairly well now. Fairly is an adverb. Fairly means more than average but less than very. Number five, funfair is a noun. Funfair is known as an amusement park. I know it's a outdoor event where you can ride on machines, play games to win prizes, etc. For example, Disneyland and Disney Sea in Tokyo are some examples of fun fairs. Let's practice. What are the five meanings of the word fair? What are the five meanings of the word fair? The five meanings
The
of
five
the word
meanings of
fair
the word
are
fair
fair hair,
are fair hair,
industrial, and
industrial,
agricultural
and
fairs,
agricultural
just,
fairs,
moderate,
just,
and fun
moderate,
fair.
and fanfare.
Where do people become darker and darker in hair color as we go towards the north of Europe? Do people become darker and darker in hair color as we go towards the north of Europe? No,
No,
people don't become
people don't
darker
become
and darker
darker
in
and
hair
darker
color
in hair
as we
color
go
as we
towards
go
the
to
north of Europe,
as we go towards
the
of
north of Europe.
the, the north of Europe.
They become fairer and
They
fairer.
become favor and favor.
Very good. Have you ever been to an industrial or agricultural fair? Have you ever been to an industrial or agricultural fair? Yes or no?
No,
I've
I've
never been
I've never
to
been
an industrial
to an industrial
or
or
agricultural fair.
agricultural fair.
Very good. Okay, if I ask everyone in this room 20 questions but only ask you two, would that be fair? If I ask everyone in this room 20 questions but only ask you two, would that be fair? No.
No,
If you ask
if you
everyone
ask
in this
everyone
room
in
20
this room
questions
20
but
questions,
only ask me
but
two,
only ask me
it
two,
wouldn't be fair.
it wouldn't be fair.
It'd be unfair.
It would be unfair.
Very good. Do they ever have a fun fair in your town? Do they ever have a fun fair in your town? Yes or no?
And yes,
They sometimes have
they sometimes
a
have
fun fair in my
a fun
town.
fair in my
Do
town.
you speak English fairly well now? Do you speak English fairly well now? Yes, I speak
Yes, I
English
speak
fairly
English
well now.
very well now.
Very good. Next, repeat. Pleasure.
Pressure.
Very good. Okay, listen. The word pleasure is a noun. Pleasure is the feeling of happiness, enjoyment, or satisfaction that you get from experience. For example, it's a great pleasure for me to get up in the morning because I find my work interesting. I feel great every weekend because I don't have to wake up early. It makes me happy. It gives me pleasure. I think it's impossible for life to be full of pleasure at all the time. Let's practice. Is it a great pleasure for you to get up in the morning? Is it a great pleasure for you to get up in the morning? Yes or no?
Uh, yes,
It's a great
it's
pleasure for
it's a
me
great pressure for
to get
me
up in the
to
morning.
get up in the morning
Why? Why? Because
because
I find my
be-
work
I find
interesting.
my work interesting.
Do you think it's possible for life to be full of pleasure all the time? Do you think it's possible for life to be full of pleasure all the time? Yes or no?
Yes,
I think it's
I
possible
think it's
for
possible
life to be
for life to
full
be
of pleasure
full of
all
pressure
the time.
all the time.
Very good. Next, repeat experiment.
Experiment.
Very good. Okay, listen. Experiment is a noun. An experiment is a test done in order to learn something or to discover if something works or is true. For example, some animals like frogs are used for experiments in science class. The students open the frogs and study what's inside it. Let's practice. Do you think it's wrong to use animals for experiments? Do you think it's wrong to use animals for experiments? Yes or no?
Yes,
I think
I
it's wrong
I think it's
to
wrong
use
to
animals
use
for
animals for
experiments.
experiments.
Very good. Okay, so now let's move on to reading.
Okay.
Okay, so our reading is at stage 5, paragraph page 319. Last headword was grammatical.
Okay.
Okay, very good start. At next word, problem, cause, colleague, boss, freedom, justice.
Okay. See, problem, colleague, boss, freedom, justice.